Before we begin, I have a request. Please subscribe to my channel. It'll mean a lot because I need to know that I'm reaching people with the content I'm creating. So this is just a request and a big shout out to all the people who've already subscribed. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for your support. And if you like my content, do consider subscribing. And if you like the content, you can also share it with your friends. All right, on to episode 3. I want you to tell me if any of these sound familiar to you. You make a suggestion in a meeting, it gets ignored. 10 minutes later, a male colleague says the same thing, and the room responds as if it's a revelation. You're introduced in a professional setting, and someone assumes you are in a support role. Not leadership, not strategy, support. You receive feedback that you are too direct or a bit intimidating. Feedback that, if you were a man, would simply be called confident. These are not accidents. These are not misunderstandings. These are biases. Structural, systemic, and deeply normalized. And today we're going to talk about exactly how to name it, navigate it, and refuse to let it define your trajectory. What is a bias? Let's understand it. And what are we actually dealing with? Or what have we been dealing with? Bias in the workplace takes many forms. But for working women, 3 show up most consistently. Performance bias. Men are hired and promoted on potential. Women are hired and promoted on proven performance, which means that women have to demonstrate more to receive the same opportunity. This is not a perception. It is a documented fact across hiring and promotion data globally. The likability penalty. Competence and likability are correlated for men. For women, they are inversely related. The more competent a woman is perceived to be, the less likable she is perceived to be. This creates an impossible standard to be capable enough to be taken seriously, but not so capable that you become threatening. The maternal wall. Women with children face assumptions about their commitment and availability that men with children do not. Motherhood is perceived as a distraction from professional identity. Fatherhood is perceived as evidence of stability. I can give you so many times when I have been asked, when my children were smaller, your children are so young. Shouldn't you be at home looking after them? What did I do my MBA for? What have I been working for so many years for? Why are the two? I mean, what was the connect? But anyway, moving on. Understanding these patterns is not about finding someone to blame. It is about understanding the playing field so you can navigate it strategically rather than being blindsided by it, well, repeatedly. So the microaggressions that happen are regular erosions. Okay. Microaggressions are the smaller daily expressions of bias. They're often subtle enough to be deniable, sometimes in your face, like the example I gave you, and they are almost always exhausting. And the most damaging thing about them is not the individual incident, it is the cumulative weight of hundreds of incidents across months and years. Women of color experience microaggressions at significantly higher rates than white women and report significantly higher levels of exhaustion and burnout from navigating them. Now, if we look at it in the Indian context, women who are good looking, fairer, come from, more tier 1, tier 2 cities face less microaggression than women who come from tier 3 cities and from lower economic strata. I have witnessed this myself when I have been training in colleges and in companies. McKinsey and LeanIn Women in the workplace have talked about higher levels of exhaustion and burnout from navigating microaggressions. Some of the most common forms being interrupted or talked over. Interestingly, I saw a video where Indira Nooyi, the ex-CEO of PepsiCo, talks about how she would observe that if a woman was talking, there would be this entire eye rolling or, oh, we're not talking about theory right now. I'll probably in the comment section share a link to that video. It's a beautiful interview and you have to watch it. So some of the most common forms are being interrupted or talked over, disproportionately experienced by women. Having your idea credited to someone else. Being called emotional when you express a view with conviction. Oh, don't get emotional. Why taking it so seriously? What's with all this emotional drama? Being asked to take notes, organize the team outing, or manage the administrative tasks, regardless of your seniority. Here is what I want you to understand. These things are not in your head. They are not you being oversensitive. They are real. They are documented and they have a measurable impact on women's careers when left unaddressed. So how do you respond in a situation like this? Let's talk about response strategies, because knowing something is happening is one thing. Knowing what to do about it is quite another. So when your idea is ignored, wait for the right moment and say, that's actually the point I was making earlier. I'm glad we're getting there. Calm, factual, no accusation. You have just reclaimed your contribution in front of the room. And believe me, it works because I have done exactly this, which is why I talk about it. When you're interrupted, pause and then say, I'd like to finish my thought, or simply continue speaking. Lower your voice slightly, slow down, and keep going. Stopping is what makes the interruption successful, so do not stop. Don't stop talking. When feedback is gendered, if someone tells you that you are too aggressive, too direct, or too much, ask one question. Can you give me a specific example of when I was too aggressive or too much or too direct? Vague gendered feedback often cannot survive specificity. It forces the feedback giver to either name something concrete or recognize that the feedback is about your gender, not your behavior. When you witness it happening to someone else, you're not required to stay silent. I don't think she finished her point. Can we hear the rest? Costs you almost nothing. To the person being spoken over, it means everything. I wish so many times there had been somebody who had stood up and said this when I was talking. So how do you respond strategically? Beyond the in the moment response, there is a longer term strategy for navigating bias in your organization. Document patterns, not emotions. Patterns. Date, incident, who was present, what was said or done. You're not building a grievance today. You are building a record that protects you if you ever need it. The distinction is important. Build allies deliberately. Identify colleagues, including men, who demonstrate they take equity seriously. Cultivate those relationships. The most effective advocates for women in organizations are often people who have formal authority and choose to use it on behalf of others. Choose your battles with intention. You do not have to address every microaggression in real time. You are a human being with limited energy, not a correction system. Choose where you spend that energy based on what matters most for your trajectory, not based on what is most immediately infuriating. Facts, not emotions. I want to say something important here. Navigating bias should not be your job. It should not fall to women to educate organizations about equity while simultaneously doing their actual work. That is an additional tax that women pay and men largely do not. I'm not asking you to be grateful for the opportunity to manage it. I'm giving you tools because tools matter, while also naming the injustice clearly. Facts, not emotion. How do you protect your energy? Here is something nobody says enough. Navigating bias is exhausting. The cognitive load of constantly assessing, processing, deciding whether to respond, how to respond, whether you will be perceived as difficult for responding, it is a real and significant drain on your energy, and you cannot do your best work from a depleted state. Your AC remote is not going to work on a dead battery. So name it to yourself first. You do not have to name it publicly every single time, but naming it to yourself, that was a microaggression. It was not my fault, and I do not have to internalize it, is a form of psychological protection. It stops the erosion from going inward. Find your community. Women who can name and share these experiences with each other reduces the isolation that makes them more damaging. That is partly why the infinite Shakti exists. You should not be processing this alone. Know what replenishes you, whether that is time with family, exercise, creative work, or simply just being. Stillness. Protect it. Your effectiveness at work is directly proportional to your capacity outside it. So here is your action for this week. I want you to do two things. First, notice. Pay attention this week to moments that feel off. Moments where something is said or not said, done or not done. That creates a subtle sense of diminishment. You do not have to respond to all of them. Just notice them. Name them to yourself. Second, identify an ally, one person in your professional life who has ever amplified your voice, given you credit, or created space for you in a room. Could be your boss, could be a colleague, could be somebody in another team. Build that relationship intentionally this week. One message, one coffee, one genuine expression of appreciation and gratitude. These relationships are your professional infrastructure. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining it. And you are absolutely not alone. Remember that. Episode 4 is next. And we are going up. We are talking about what it actually takes for women to reach leadership, stay in leadership, and lead on their own terms, not someone else's version of what a leader looks like. Yours. Subscribe, share, and tell me in the comments what is the one thing you wish your organization understood about navigating bias as a woman. I would like to hear it. And I'll see you in the next video.